Commander Lisa Bennett sat at her desk in the Deep Space Monitoring Station. The station floated far from Earth, watching the stars for any signs of trouble. Lisa had been doing this job for 5 years. Most days were quiet. Today was different. The alert sound made her jump. Red lights flashed across her control panel. Something was coming through the long-range communication system. Lisa quickly put on her headset and started recording. The voice that came through was not human. It spoke in broken English, with clicks and hisses mixed in. "This is Ambassador Zeth Kar of the Vellani people. We need help. Please, anyone who can hear this message, we are dying." Lisa felt her heart beat faster. She had never heard an alien voice before. No human had direct contact with other species, even though Earth knew they existed. The voice continued. "The Drakethul horde has attacked our worlds. They destroy everything. They eat our people. 7 species in our alliance are fighting, but we are losing. We have heard stories about humans. Please help us." The message repeated 3 times and stopped. Lisa stared at her screens. She had to tell someone right away. She opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "This is Horizon Watch calling Earth Command. Priority 1 message. We have received first contact from alien species requesting military aid." The response came back in seconds. "Horizon Watch, this is Captain Jake Morrison at Earth Command. Send the message immediately. Do not tell anyone else about this." Lisa sent the alien message to Earth. Then she sat back in her chair and waited. She knew this would change everything. On Earth, Captain Jake Morrison listened to the alien message 5 times. Each time, he felt more concerned. The fear in the alien's voice was real. These creatures were truly desperate. Jake walked quickly to Admiral Helen Carter's office. Admiral Carter was in charge of Earth's military planning. She was a tough woman who had spent 30 years in space. Nothing surprised her anymore. "Admiral, we have a situation," Jake said as he entered her office. "First contact, and they want our help in a war." Admiral Carter looked up from her papers. "Play it," she said. Jake played the message. Admiral Carter listened without saying a word. When it ended, she was quiet for a long moment. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Unknown. But from the message, it sounds like they're losing badly. This Drakethul horde seems to be winning." Admiral Carter stood up. "Call an emergency meeting of the Terran Defense Council. Get General Paul Rodriguez and all the department heads. We meet in 1 hour." 1 hour later, the most important people in Earth's military sat around a large table. Admiral Carter played the alien message for everyone. General Paul Rodriguez spoke first. "We've been preparing for this day for decades. We always knew we might have to fight aliens someday. But I thought they would attack us first. What do we know about these species?" Admiral Carter asked. Colonel Amy Foster, head of alien intelligence, opened her files. "The Kepler Alliance has 7 member species. They've been peaceful for over 300 years. They trade with each other and share technology. They're not warriors." "What about this Drakethul horde?" Jake asked. "We've seen their ships on long-range sensors. They're big, aggressive, and they seem to eat other species. Our computers think they're from the outer edge of the galaxy." Admiral Carter looked around the table. "Opinions?" General Rodriguez leaned forward. "Ma'am, Earth has been building weapons. For 50 years, we've prepared for alien contact. Our ships are ready. Our soldiers are ready. If we don't help these people, the horde might come for us next." "I agree," said Colonel Foster. "These alliance species seem peaceful. If they fall, we lose potential allies. The horde will grow stronger." Admiral Carter nodded. "Any objections to helping them?" The room was silent. Every person at the table knew what this meant. Earth was about to enter its first alien war. Then, "It's decided," Admiral Carter said. "We will help the Kepler Alliance. General Rodriguez, how long do we need to prepare? Our deep space fleet is ready now. We can launch in 72 hours. Do it. But first, we need to send a message back to this Ambassador Zethkar." Admiral Carter walked to the communication console. She thought carefully about what to say. This would be humanity's first words to an alien species. "Ambassador Zethkar of the Velana people, this is Admiral Helen Carter of Earth. We received your message. Humanity will help you fight the Drakethul Horde. Our ships are coming. Stay strong. Earth remembers its friends." The message was sent into space. Somewhere in the galaxy, aliens would learn that Earth had answered their call for help. "Admiral." Carter turned back to her staff. "Gentlemen, prepare for war. The galaxy is about to learn what humans can do when we're angry." General Rodriguez smiled. "Ma'am, our ships have been waiting for this moment. The Drakethul Horde has no idea what's coming for them." "Good," Admiral Carter said. "Let's show them why you don't mess with Earth." In the days that followed, Earth's military moved into action. Ships that had been hidden in asteroid belts and secret bases began to move. Soldiers who had trained for years got ready for their first real battle. The galaxy had asked for help. Earth was about to respond with everything it had. Commander Lisa Bennett watched the ships leave from her monitoring station. She had started this by receiving one alien message. Now Earth was going to war. She wondered what would happen when humanity showed the galaxy its true power. The war was about to begin. The UE's Thunderstrike was the largest warship ever built by humans. It was 3 miles long and carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Captain Ryan Walsh stood on the bridge, watching the stars as his ship led Earth's fleet toward the Proxima sector. "Captain, we're getting close to the battle zone," said Lieutenant Amy Foster from her station. "Long-range sensors show heavy fighting ahead." Captain Walsh nodded. "How many ships do we have in the fleet?" 47 warships, sir, plus support vessels and troop transports." It seemed like a small number compared to the massive alien fleets they had heard about. But Admiral Carter had assured them that human ships were different. They were built for war in ways that alien ships were not. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Kepler Alliance," the communications officer reported. "Put it on screen." A new alien appeared on the main display. This one looked like a tall, blue-skinned humanoid with 4 arms. His uniform was covered in military decorations. "Human ships, this is Fleet Admiral Kex Tai of the Hegemony Navy. We are grateful for your assistance, but I must warn you. The Drakethul forces are massive. You have brought only a small fleet." Captain Walsh stood up. "Admiral Kex Tai, this is Captain Ryan Walsh of the UES Thunderstrike. We appreciate your concern, but Earth's ships are built for this kind of fight." The alien admiral looked skeptical. "Captain Walsh, I have been fighting the Drakethul for 6 months. They have ships the size of cities. Their weapons can crack planets. I do not want to see your people die because you underestimated the enemy. Admiral, you're about to see what human military engineering can do. We've been preparing for this for a long time." The alien shook his head. "I hope you are right, Captain. The Alliance has lost too many good people already." The transmission ended. Captain Walsh looked at his crew. "You heard him. They think we're too small to matter. Let's show them what Earth can do." The fleet moved deeper into the battle zone. Soon they could see the war on their screens. Massive alien ships were fighting in the space around a blue planet. The Drakethul ships were dark and organic-looking, like giant insects. The Alliance ships were sleek and silver, but many were damaged or destroyed. "Sir, the Drakethul have noticed us," Lieutenant Foster reported. 3 of their warships are heading our way. Captain Walsh smiled. Good. Sergeant Major Chris Patterson, are your kinetic weapons ready? Yes, sir. Tungsten rods loaded and targeted. Fire when ready. The human fleet stopped moving. From space, nothing seemed to happen. But high above the battle, human satellites began to move. They had been launched hours ago and were now in perfect position. Sergeant, Major Patterson pressed a button on his control panel. Firing. The tungsten rods were simple weapons. Just metal poles dropped from space. But they fell so fast that they hit with the power of nuclear bombs. The 3 Drakethul ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. On the Alliance ships, alarms started ringing. The alien crews could not believe what they had seen. 3 enemy warships had been destroyed in seconds, and they had not even seen the human weapons fire. Fleet Admiral Kextai opened a channel to the human fleet. Captain Walsh, what weapon was that? Kinetic bombardment, Admiral. We call them rods from God, just metal poles dropped from orbit, but they hit very hard. Impossible. The Drakethul ships have armor that can stop plasma cannons. Admiral, our weapons don't use energy. They use physics. Speed and mass. The rods hit so fast that no armor can stop them. More Drakethul ships were approaching. These were larger, with thick bioarmor and massive weapons. Captain Walsh turned to Commander Susan Miller at the Electronic Warfare Station. Commander, show them what our computers can do. Commander Miller's fingers flew across her controls. The human ships began broadcasting signals toward the Drakethul fleet. The signals were invisible, but they carried something deadly. Human. Computer viruses. The Drakethul ships were alive, grown rather than built. Their biocomputers controlled everything. But they had never faced human artificial intelligence before. A first Drakethul ship began to shake. Its weapons turned toward its own fleet and started firing. The crew inside was screaming, but they could not control their ship anymore. The biocomputers are fighting the virus, Commander Miller reported. But our AI is adapting faster than they can evolve. One by one, the Drakethul ships began to turn on each other. Their own weapons destroyed. Them from within. The Alliance fleet watched in amazement as their greatest enemies became their own worst nightmare. Admiral, Kextai's voice came over the radio again. Captain Walsh, how are you controlling their ships? We're not controlling them, Admiral. We're confusing them. Our computer viruses make their biocomputers think that their own fleet is the enemy. But their biocomputers are supposed to be impossible to hack. Admiral, human computers don't think like biocomputers. We approach problems differently. What seems impossible to you is just another puzzle to us. The battle was turning. The Drakethul ships that were not fighting each other were trying to retreat, but Captain Walsh was not finished demonstrating human military power. All ships advance to combat range. Show them what human naval doctrine looks like. The human fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Each ship knew exactly where to go and when to fire. They had practiced this thousands of times. The Drakethul ships were larger and stronger, but they fought like wild animals. They charged forward without coordination, depending on their size and power to win. The human ships moved like dancers. They twisted and turned through space, always staying in formation. Their weapons fired in perfect timing, hitting the enemy. Ships at their weakest points. Captain Walsh watched his fleet tear through the enemy like a sword through paper. This is what happens when you fight humans, he said quietly. We don't just build weapons. We build systems. In 30 minutes, the battle was over. The Drakethul fleet was destroyed or retreating. The Alliance ships had barely fired a shot. They had watched humans win a fight that had been killing them for months. Admiral Kextai appeared on screen. Again, his blue face was pale with shock. Captain Walsh, In 6 months of fighting, we had never won a single battle against the Drakethul. You destroyed their entire fleet in less than an hour. Admiral, this is just the beginning. Earth has been preparing for war for 50 years. We've studied every form of combat. We've built weapons that your enemies have never seen before. What happens now? Captain Walsh looked at the damaged Alliance ships. Now we save your people. And then we hunt down every Drakethul ship in the galaxy. They wanted a war. Earth is going to give them one. The human fleet began moving toward the next battle zone. Behind them, the Alliance ships followed, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans go to war, they don't just fight. They dominate. The Trilix system was dying. 3 planets burned under Drakethul attack, and the last Alliance stronghold was about to fall. General Nick Campbell stood in the command center of the troop transport ship, watching the battle through satellite. Feeds. Sir, the Alliance ground forces are retreating to their final defensive line, reported Major Kate Wilson. They have maybe 6 hours before the Drakethul break through. General Campbell studied the tactical display. The enemy had landed 2 million warriors on the surface. Each Drakethul soldier was 9 feet tall, with natural armor plating and claws that could tear through steel. They had been bred for war. How many troops do we have ready for deployment? He asked. 50,000 Marines, sir. Plus support units. The numbers looked impossible. 50,000 humans against 2 million alien warriors. But General Campbell had seen the intelligence reports. He knew what his soldiers could do. Major Wilson, prepare your Marines for combat drop. Show these aliens what human military technology looks like. Major Wilson smiled. Yes, sir. The boys are ready to rock and roll. The human dropships launched from the fleet above. They were black, angular craft that could slip through enemy defenses like ghosts. Inside, the human Marines checked their equipment one last time. Each Marine wore powered armor that made them stronger and faster than any normal human. The armor was powered by fusion batteries and controlled by advanced computers. It could stop most alien weapons and amplify human strength 10 times. Private First Class Tony Russell checked his rifle. It fired small metal slugs at incredible speed. Unlike energy weapons, it never ran out of power. And unlike plasma guns, it could punch through any armor. Listen up, Marines, Major Wilson said over the radio. The Alliance has been fighting these things for months and losing. They think the Drakethul are unbeatable. Today, we prove them wrong. The dropships hit the planet's surface like meteorites. The doors opened, and human Marines poured out into the battlefield. The Drakethul warriors charged toward them, roaring. Their battle cries. The first alien to reach the human lines was 10 feet tall and covered in thick scales. It swung a massive club at Private Russell's head. Russell ducked and fired 3 rounds into the creature's chest. The alien fell backward, dead. Contact, Major Wilson shouted. All units engage. The human Marines formed a battle line and began firing. Their weapons created a wall of death that the Drakethul could not cross. But the aliens kept coming, stepping over their own dead. They're not stopping, Private Russell said. These things don't know fear. Neither do we, Major. Wilson replied. Marines advance by squads. Show them what human infantry can do. The human soldiers began to move forward in perfect coordination. Half the unit would advance while the other half provided covering fire. Then they would switch. It was a dance of death that humans had perfected over centuries of warfare. The Drakethul had never faced anything like it. They were used to fighting in wild charges, depending on their size and strength. But the humans fought like a machine, each soldier, knowing exactly what to do. Colonel Tony Russell watched the battle from his command aircraft. He was in charge of the human air support. His fighters were already in the sky, hunting enemy aircraft. Eagle Squadron, this is Colonel Russell. Enemy biofighters incoming from the north. Engage and destroy. The Drake Thul biofighters were living creatures that flew through space and atmosphere. They were fast and deadly, with weapons that could melt steel. But they had never fought human pilots before. Lieutenant Commander Eric Stone led Eagle Squadron into battle. His fighter was a work of art, built for speed and maneuverability. It could turn on a coin and accelerate like a rocket. "I have visual on the enemy," Stone reported. "They're flying in a swarm formation. No discipline." "Copy that, Eagle Leader. Show them how humans fight in the air." The biofighters came at the humans like angry wasps. They fired their weapons wildly, hoping to overwhelm the smaller human force. But the human pilots split up and began to hunt. Lieutenant Stone rolled his fighter upside down and dove toward a biofighter. His weapons locked on target and fired. The alien creature exploded in a ball of fire. "Splash one," Stone reported. "These things are fast, but they can't think." The human fighters moved through the alien swarm like sharks through a school of fish. Each pilot knew where his wingman was and what he was doing. They covered each other perfectly, never leaving anyone alone. In 10 minutes, the sky was clear. 30 biofighters had been destroyed. The humans had not lost a single aircraft. On the ground, the Marines were pushing forward. The Drake Thul warriors were brave, but they could not match human tactics and technology. For every human that fell, 50 aliens died. Major Wilson led her troops toward the Alliance defensive line. The alien defenders were amazed to see humans advancing through the battlefield that had been killing them for hours. "Human Commander, this is General Vorthan of the Kalani Republic," came a voice over the radio. "You are walking into a death trap. The Drake Thul have heavy weapons in that valley." "General, we see them," Major Wilson replied. "Watch and learn." The human Marines spread out and began to move through the valley. The Drake Thul had set up massive weapons that could destroy tanks. But the humans did not attack the weapons directly. Instead, they used their advanced sensors to find the alien command posts. Small teams of Marines snuck behind enemy lines and attacked the Drake Thul leaders. Without commanders, the alien warriors became confused and easy to defeat. Dr. Monica Blake worked in the field laboratory, studying captured Drake Thul specimens. She was a scientist, but she was also a soldier. Her job was to find the enemy's weaknesses. "General Campbell, I have important information," she reported. "The Drake Thul have been genetically modified. Their DNA is artificial." "What does that mean, Doctor?" "It means they have artificial weaknesses. Their genetic modifications make them vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies. If we can build weapons that use those frequencies, we can disable entire armies." "How long do you need?" "Give me 6 hours, and I'll have a prototype weapon ready." General Campbell smiled. "Doctor, you just gave us the key to winning this war." The battle for Trillex continued for 2 more days. But the outcome was never in doubt. The human Marines fought with skill and courage that amazed their allies. They used tactics that the Drake Thul could not understand or counter. When the last enemy warrior fell, the Alliance forces could not believe what they had seen. 50,000 humans had defeated 2 million alien warriors. The impossible had become reality. General Vorthan met with General Campbell after the battle. The alien commander was tall and proud, with golden skin and forearms. He had fought in hundreds of battles, but never seen anything like this. "General Campbell, I owe you an apology," Vorthan said. "I did not believe that humans could fight the Drake Thul effectively. I was wrong. General, you fought bravely with the weapons you had. But humans have been preparing for this war for decades. We've studied every form of combat and built weapons. For every situation, your soldiers fight like demons. They show no fear and never break formation. General Campbell nodded. General, humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We've learned that victory goes to the side with better discipline, better tactics, and better weapons. The Drakethul are strong, but strength alone is not enough. What happens? Now we hunt down every Drakethul ship and army in the galaxy. They wanted to eat civilized species. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten Earth's friends. The news of the victory at Trilix spread across the galaxy. The Kepler Alliance could not believe that humans had won such a decisive victory. The Drakethul horde was learning that they had picked the wrong enemy. Earth's military machine was just getting started. The Drakethul were retreating across the galaxy. After losing battle after battle to human forces, they had pulled back to their home territories. Admiral Carter decided it was time to end the war once and for all. Operation Cleansing Fire is approved, she announced to the assembled fleet commanders. We will strike at the heart of the Drakethul Empire and destroy their ability to make war. Captain Ben Lewis stood at attention in the briefing room. He commanded the stealth ship Shadow Runner, Earth's most advanced reconnaissance vessel. His mission would be the most dangerous of the war. Captain Lewis, you will take your ship to the Drakethul homeworld, Admiral Carter continued. We need to know their true strength before we commit to a full assault. Yes, ma'am. When do we leave? Immediately. And Captain, this is an intelligence-gathering mission only. Do not engage the enemy unless you have no choice. Captain Lewis saluted and left the briefing room. He knew this mission could change everything. The Drakethul homeworld was deep in enemy territory, protected by massive fleets and orbital weapons. The Shadowrunner was unlike any other ship in the human fleet. It was designed to be invisible to most sensors, and its crew was trained for the most dangerous missions. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Torres, the ship's diplomatic officer, would be essential if they encountered enemy leaders. Captain, we're approaching the outer edge of the Drakethul home system, reported the navigation officer. Sensors show heavy patrol activity. Take us to stealth mode, Captain Lewis ordered. Silent running from here on. The Shadowrunner slipped through the enemy patrols like a ghost. Its advanced stealth systems made it nearly impossible to detect. After 12 hours of careful navigation, they reached the Drakethul homeworld. What they found was not what they expected. Captain, you need to see this, said the sensor operator. The planet is not a military fortress. It's a refugee camp. Captain Lewis looked at the display screens. The Drakethul homeworld was covered with temporary shelters and emergency facilities. Millions of aliens were living in camps, not cities. Are you sure these are Drakethul? He asked. Yes, sir. But, sir, many of them are civilians, families with children. This doesn't look like a warrior race. It looks like people running from something. Captain Lewis felt confused. Everything they had been told about the Drakethul suggested they were natural warriors who loved battle. But this planet looked like it was full of refugees. Commander Torres, prepare a communication probe. We need to talk to someone down there. Sir, that's very dangerous. If they detect us, I know. But we need to understand what we're really fighting. The communication probe was launched toward the planet. It carried a message in basic trade language, asking for peaceful contact. Within an hour, they received a reply. Human ship, this is War Leader Graxthul. We know you are there. We surrender. Please do not destroy our world. Captain Lewis was shocked. The Drakethul leader was surrendering before they had even been detected properly. War Leader, this is Captain Lewis of the human ship Shadowrunner. We want to talk, not fight. Can you explain what happened to your people? There was a long silence. Then the alien voice returned, filled with pain and fear. Captain Lewis, we are not the monsters you think we are. We were driven from our crew, home by something much worse. We attacked your Alliance friends because we were desperate. We had nowhere else to go. What drove you from your home? The void spawn, dark entities from the space between galaxies. They consume everything they touch. Stars, planets, entire civilizations. We fought them for 100 years before we had to flee. Captain Lewis felt his blood run cold. How many of your people escaped? Only a few million. Billions died fighting the void spawn. We thought we could take new homes by force. We were wrong. Commander Torres looked at the captain. Sir, if this is true, then we're not fighting an invasion. We're fighting a refugee crisis. War leader. Grexthu, would you be willing to meet with our negotiator? We need to understand this situation better. I will meet with your representative. But Captain, you must know that the void spawn are following us. They will reach this galaxy soon. When they do, everything will die. Captain Lewis made a decision that would change the course of the war. War leader, I'm sending down my diplomatic officer. We need to work together to solve this problem. Commander Torres took a small shuttle down to the planet's surface. What she found there changed everything she thought she knew about the war. Drakethul were not monsters. They were refugees who had been driven from their homes by something far worse. Their attacks on the Alliance had been acts of desperation, not conquest. War leader Grexthl was an old alien, his scales scarred from 100 battles. He showed Commander Torres images of the void spawn attacks on his homeworld. They came from the dark space between galaxies, he explained. Black ships that absorbed light and energy. Their warriors were made of shadow and hunger. Nothing we had could hurt them. How did you fight them? We couldn't. Our strongest weapons passed through them like they were ghosts. Our bioships were consumed and turned against us. We had to flee or watch our entire species die. Commander Torres studied the images. The void spawn looked like living nightmares, creatures of pure darkness that consumed everything they touched. War leader, if these creatures are following you, then they're a threat to everyone in the galaxy. The Alliance, the Drakethul, and humans. Yes, that is why I'm willing to work with you. We cannot fight the void spawn alone. No one can. Commander. Torres sent her report back to the Shadowrunner. Captain Lewis immediately transmitted it to Admiral Carter and the human fleet. The reaction was immediate and intense. Captain Lewis, this is Admiral Carter. Return to the fleet immediately. We have a new situation to deal with. When the Shadowrunner returned to the human fleet, Captain Lewis found the commanders in heated debate. General Rodriguez wanted to continue the attack on the Drakethul. Admiral Carter wanted to find a different solution. General, if the Drakethul are telling the truth, then we're fighting the wrong enemy. Admiral Carter argued. Admiral, they could be lying. This could be a trap to make us lower our guard. Or it could be the truth. And if it is, then we need to prepare for something much worse than the Drakethul. The debate reached Earth, where President Marcus Thompson had to make the final decision. The intelligence reports were clear. The void spawn were real, and they were coming. Admiral Carter, I'm authorizing a change in our mission, the President announced. Find a way to work with the Drakethul. If these void spawn are as dangerous as they sound, we'll need every ally we can get. The news sent shockwaves through the human fleet. They had come to destroy the Drakethul, but now they had to work with them. Major Dan Phillips was preparing to lead an assault on the Drakethul fortress world of Grimhold when the orders changed. Instead of a full attack, he was told to capture the fortress and negotiate with the defenders. Sir, the troops are ready for battle, his aide reported. They're not going to understand why we're changing the mission. Then we'll explain it to them. Sometimes the best victory is the one you don't have to fight. The assault on Grimhold became a negotiation. The Drakethel defenders, led by war leader Grexthel, agreed to surrender in exchange for protection from the Void Spawn. Commander Julia Martinez worked with Alliance forces to coordinate the new strategy. It was complicated and dangerous, but it was the only way to prepare for the real enemy. "All units, this is command," she announced. "We have a new mission. The Drakethel are no longer our primary enemy. Something worse is coming, and we need to be ready." The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the enemy of your enemy really is your friend. The Void Spawn were coming, and only a united galaxy could hope to stop them. The war had taken an unexpected turn. Now humans, the Alliance, and the Drakethal would have to work together to survive what was coming next. A Nexus Gate was older than any civilization in the galaxy. It was a massive structure built by an ancient race, designed to control access to the galaxy's core. For thousands of years, it had stood empty. Now it was the last line of defense. Against the Void Spawn, Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the U-East Thunderstrike, watching the enemy approach. The Void Spawn fleet looked like a black cloud moving through space, absorbing light and energy as it traveled. "Admiral, we have the combined human, Alliance, and Drakethel fleets in position," reported Captain Walsh. "Total strength, 800 ships. And the enemy? Sensors can't get an accurate count. The Void Spawn ships seem to exist partially in normal space and partially in something else. Best estimate is over 2,000 vessels." Admiral Carter nodded. The numbers were not good, but they had advantages that previous enemies of the Void Spawn had not possessed. "Open a channel to all fleet commanders," she ordered. The main screen lit up with the faces of commanders from 3 different species. Admiral Kextai of the Alliance, War Leader Graxthil of the Drakethel, and Captain Walsh representing the human fleet. "This is it," Admiral Carter said. "The final battle. The Void Spawn want to consume our galaxy, and we're the only thing standing in their way." War Leader Graxthil's scarred face showed determination. "Admiral Carter, my people have fought these creatures before. They cannot be defeated by conventional weapons. How do you plan to hurt them?" "War Leader, human science has found something interesting about the Void Spawn. They exist in multiple dimensions at once, but that also makes them vulnerable in ways they don't understand." Captain Walsh stepped forward. "Our scientists have developed weapons that can affect multiple dimensions. If we're right, we can actually hurt these things." The Void Spawn fleet reached the outer edge of the Nexus Gate's defensive perimeter. The first wave of attacks came from the darkness between stars. Black energy beams that could destroy planets struck the Allied fleet. "All ships evasive maneuvers," Admiral Carter commanded. "Return fire with dimensional weapons." The human ships launched a new type of weapon, quantum torpedoes that could punch through dimensional barriers. When they hit the Void Spawn vessels, the results were immediate and devastating. "Direct hit," reported the weapons officer. "The enemy ship is destabilizing." The Void Spawn vessel began to collapse in on itself, its multi-dimensional structure, failing. For the first time in the war, the shadow creatures had been truly hurt. "All fleets, concentrate fire on the lead vessels," Admiral Carter ordered. "We can hurt them." The battle spread across the Nexus Gate. Human ships worked alongside, Alliance vessels and Drakethul bioships. For the first time in galactic history, 3 species that had been enemies were fighting as one captain. Walsh led a group of human destroyers against a cluster of Void Spawn fighters. The shadow creatures moved like liquid darkness, but the human ships were faster and more agile. "Fire quantum torpedoes," Walsh ordered. "Target their dimensional weak points." The weapons struck home, and Void Spawn fighters began to dissolve back into the dark space they came from. But for every enemy ship destroyed, Two more seemed to take its place. On the Nexus Gate itself, Colonel Amy Foster led a joint strike. Forced to defend the ancient structure, human Marines fought alongside Drakethul warriors and Alliance soldiers. The enemy had landed shadow troops that could phase through solid matter. "They're in the control room," shouted Private Tony Russell. "The shadows are trying to destroy the gate." Colonel Foster grabbed her dimensional rifle and ran toward the control center. The weapon used the same technology as the ship torpedoes, but in a smaller package. When she fired it at a void spawn warrior, the creature screamed and vanished. "All troops use only dimensional weapons," she commanded. "Regular guns won't. Work on these things." War leader Graxthul fought beside the human Marines. His natural claws were useless against the shadow creatures, but he carried a dimensional sword that could cut through their dark forms. "Human soldiers, stay close together," he roared. The void spawn fear coordinated attacks. The battle in the gate's corridors was brutal. Shadow creatures poured through the walls like smoke, but the combined forces held their ground. Humans provided the advanced weapons, Drakethul provided close combat skills, and Alliance forces provided tactical coordination. Dr. Monica Blake worked frantically in the gate's ancient computer systems. She had discovered that the structure was not just a barrier, it was a weapon. The ancient builders had designed it to fight multi-dimensional enemies. "Admiral Carter, I've figured out how to activate the gate's weapons," she reported over the radio, "but it will require power from all three fleets." "Do it, Doctor. Whatever it takes." The combined fleets began channeling their power into the Nexus Gate. Human fusion reactors, Alliance plasma generators, and Drakethul bioenergy systems all fed power into the ancient structure. The gate began to glow with energy that had not been seen for millions of years. Patterns of light raced across its surface as weapon systems came online. "Gate weapons are charging," Dr. Blake reported. 30 seconds to full power. The void spawn seemed to sense the danger. Their entire fleet turned toward the gate and began a desperate assault. Black energy beams struck the structure, trying to destroy it before its weapons could fire. "All ships, protect the gate," Admiral Carter commanded. "Don't let them through." Captain Ben Lewis brought the Shadowrunner out of stealth and flew directly into the path of a void spawn dreadnought. His small ship fired everything it had, buying precious seconds for the gate to charge. "This is Lewis," he reported calmly. "I'm not going to make it out of this one. Tell my crew they did good." The Shadowrunner exploded in a ball of light, taking the enemy dreadnought with it. But the sacrifice gave the gate the time it needed. "Gate. Weapons at full power," Dr. Blake announced. Firing, the Nexus Gate unleashed a wave of dimensional energy that swept across the battlefield. The energy was specifically designed to target multidimensional beings. When it hit the Void Spawn fleet, the results were catastrophic. Enemy ships began to collapse and disappear. The shadow creatures screamed as they were forced back into the dark space between galaxies. In less than a minute, the entire Void Spawn fleet was gone. The battle was over, but the cost had been enormous. Half the combined fleet was destroyed or damaged. Thousands of soldiers from all three species had died defending the gate. Admiral Carter stood in the ruined command center of the Thunderstrike, looking at the casualty reports. Captain Walsh had survived, but barely. Commander Torres was in the medical bay with serious injuries. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender offers from the remaining Drakethul forces throughout the galaxy," reported the communications officer. "Tell them the war is over," Admiral Carter replied. "We have bigger things to worry about now." War leader Graxthul appeared on the main screen. His armor was damaged and his face was tired, but he was alive. "Admiral Carter, my people owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You could have destroyed us, but instead you saved us. War leader, we all saved each other. The void spawn would have destroyed everyone if we had kept fighting. What happens now? Admiral Carter thought for a moment. Now we build something new. A galaxy where former enemies can work together. The threats out there are too big for any one species to handle alone. 6 months later, representatives from Earth, the Kepler Alliance, and the Drake-Thul Republic met on a neutral space station. Commander Rachel Torres, recovered from her injuries, represented humanity in the negotiations. The Terran Kepler Drake-Thul Alliance will be a new kind of organization, she announced. Not an empire, but a partnership. Each member species keeps their independence, but we work together against common threats. President Marcus Thompson spoke from Earth via video link. Humanity did not seek to rule the galaxy. We came to help friends, and we found that even enemies can become allies when they face a common danger. The treaty was signed by all three governments. Admiral Carter was named as the first Supreme Commander of the Joint Military Forces. Her job would be to watch for new threats and coordinate the response. The galaxy had learned important lessons from the war. The Drake-Thul learned that conquest was not the answer to their problems. The Alliance learned that sometimes you need to fight to protect peace. And humanity learned that their greatest strength was not their weapons, but their ability to bring enemies together. Captain Walsh stood on the bridge of the new U-East Defender, watching human ships patrol alongside former enemies. Drake-Thul bioships flew in formation with Alliance cruisers, all working together to protect the galaxy. Sir, long range. Sensors are picking up something interesting, reported the sensor officer. There's a distress call from outside the galaxy. It sounds like there are more refugee fleets out there. Captain Walsh smiled, set course to investigate. The galaxy has learned how to turn enemies into friends. Let's see if we can help some. More people find a home. The human fleet began moving toward the unknown signal. They had answered one call for help and saved the galaxy. Now they were ready to answer the next call. Earth had responded to the galaxy's plea with unmatched firepower. But more importantly, they had responded with something even more powerful, the wisdom to know when to fight and when to make peace. The galaxy was safe.